Coming in hot, it's Pete's and Picks. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler Christensen, and here with me, as always, is Coulter. Coulter, what's happening today?
Oh, we're joined by my buddy from the good old film school days, Gramme Sowell. What's going on? You might have heard of him on his short form YouTube channel, Beyond the Arc, or you might have heard his wonderful voice on color commentary during the Montana State women's basketball games. They're crushing it this year. Gramme, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. This is sweet.
Yeah. So Gramme does Beyond the Arc. He does some basketball talk, so we figured it'd be a good match to have him on the pod and chat with us about some basketball. Tyler, what are we chatting about today?
We have a big episode today. Probably been looking forward to this one for a couple of months. We're going to be talking about our NBA All-Star selections. We're going to quiz Gramme on how his YouTube page has been growing. He's got a crazy number of views already, something we're aspiring to, Coulter. So we got to find some of his tricks, and we got to apply them to our own show. And then we're going to end our show with MVP draft, who we think is going to be MVP this season. So should be a good one. We got a lot to get to. So we're going to start with revealing our NBA All-Star selections. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but who we think should be part of the crew that gets selected to the Atlanta All-Star game on March 7th. They're going to be announcing the starters this Thursday, and then the reserves the Thursday after that, and the voting ends on the 16th at midnight, so Tuesday at midnight. So this pod should be coming about that time. It's Sunday right now. So without further ado, Gramme, why don't you give us your NBA All-Star starters for the East and the West?
All right. So for the East, I know the main dude everyone been talking about this year. I'm Bradley Beal for guard. He's leading the league in scoring right now, like 33 a game. This is debatable, but I'm going with Kyrie Irving for my other guard starting. Kevin Durant, of course, is one of the forwards. Giannis, and then Joel Embiid. I feel like those three are pretty solid starters for the East. And then on the other side for the West, I'm gonna go with Steph Curry and Damian Lillard for my starters, and then LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Jokic for the forwards. So that's my 10.
Those are solid picks. I actually, for the West, that's my exact starting five as well. So good choices. I think I have almost the same starting five in the East as well, but the thing with Kyrie is he has missed some games, and I think that to me plays in the aspect of whether you start or not. I think James Harden is kind of in that same case because he played some games in the West and then some came over to the East. So my starting five for the East is Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid, and then my fifth guy, a little bit out of left field, Zach LaVine. He's been torching it. I just wanted a backcourt of bad team, good ball players with Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine. So that's my pick. Tyler, who you got?
I like the LaVine pick. I'll get to him a little bit later too, but as a starter, good for you. I like the outside shot there. Very nice. Some might say beyond the arc shot. So I am actually with you, Coulter, on I can't put Kyrie in my starters for the East for the same reason. So I went Beal, and then I went Jaylen Brown for my other guard. He's been playing very well. He's played all the games. Kyrie will probably be the one who gets up there because he's just killing in the fan vote. But then I have KD, Giannis, and Embiid. Those are pretty much chalk. And then did you guys leave Kawhi out? Did you guys went PG-13 over Kawhi for your one of your spots?
I had Kawhi.
I had Kawhi also, yeah.
Okay, I for some reason I thought I heard PG-13, who's the one debatable one we're leaving out, Ben, but I am in the same boat as Steph, Dame, LBJ. Kawhi and Jokic. So there's not much to debate there. I mean, we do have alternates as far as that fifth spot goes for the starter. I'll be interested to see who Graham has for some of his reserves. So, Graham, why don't you give us your reserve spots for the two teams?
All right. So we're doing the 5, right?
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
clarification.
let's just do East and then go around and then we'll do West again.
Okay,
All right.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I have Jaylen Brown, which I was debating on in the starting lineup. James Harden, Jason Tatum, Sabonis, and Bam Adebayo are my 5. 2 guards, 3 forwards.
Nice. Tyler, who you got?
For the East, for the next 5, I've got Tatum, Irving, Harden, Levine, and Sabonis for my 5 in the East. Okay. So I don't have Bam. That's where we differ there. That was a tough one, but I don't have Bam in the next 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to both your guys' picks. I got Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Harden, Sabonis, and then I have Bam also. And it's just, purely because positional, try to keep it even. That's what they try to do for the All-Stars. But yeah, it's interesting because Bam's had a little bit of a down year and the Heat have not been playing as good as they were last year. So yeah, I think those are all 6 or 7 of those guys that we've chatted about are probably even in our reserves for some people that didn't have them.
Now, I kind of want to debate this point since I'm the only one who's going to be leaving Bam out, period. Bam, he's at 19 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. I think he's a great player, defense and offensive side. But my problem with Bam is the Heat aren't doing enough. I think he's a big-time player, and I'd be okay with him getting into the All-Star game. But like you said, they do try to get all the positions in there. But Sabonis as the backup center, and how many centers do we need?
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of the league isn't even playing a center anymore. Oh, I like it. Already swaying you. Maybe I can change your vote here. Bam's a good player. I don't think this is his year. I think he should have led the Heat more while Jimmy Butler was gone to prove to me he's a true all-star. And the East is so stacked. We haven't even gotten to our last 2 guys that might get cut. So Bam's a little early for me. I don't know. You guys want to push back on any of that?
Who were was your other forward that you had? Sorry.
My debatable one right now, I put Sabonis in there. I don't think either of you guys had Sabonis yet.
Well,
I think both of us did.
We
Yeah,
both did.
actually.
Oh, you
Again.
did? So I had Levine, Tate. I don't know if you guys said Tatum. Did you have Tatum in there yet?
I think we both had Tatum and Brown on there because Brown didn't get in our starting 5. And then Sabonis, Harden, and Bam. I think, is that what you had, Graham?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the same as I had too.
I had Levine as well, but you already had him in your starter, so
yeah,
we only for once there.
So I think with Bam, he's scoring more points than he was last year. So I guess he's kind of
his percentages are down, I guess, really,
yeah,
but
so pretty similar numbers, I would say. And for a team that's not doing extremely well, I don't know. I think he'll probably get in.
Yeah, I think your argument is really team performance at that point, but then you look at Bradley Beal and he's almost a lock all-star and they're, the second worst team in the East. So
that's the thing with the all-star voting.
Yeah.
Do you consider winning? I mean, it's so early into the season. Do you consider how many players are already on the team to make the all-star game? So when we get into it, we have 3 Nets players making it and the 3rd in the East. You guys might not even have 2 people on the 76ers. I do have Ben Simmons personally. So All-Star is a very odd award because sometimes it's just marquee player. And it's not so much about performance. I think Bam does have the name to make the All-Star game. And fans love him. He's in the top 10 for voting. So I won't be surprised if Bam gets in. He just wouldn't be a player that I'd vote in.
Yeah, I think
Fair.
it's hard with we're winning more games, but this player is like we'll get to that with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, who I have in next. But I think it's kind of hard with that kind of thing. But I think at the end of the day, it's entertainment. So it's for the fans, you know. So you want to see people that you want to watch play.
I'm glad you brought that up, Graham. I'm going to grill you on one of your videos last year. I've been doing my research on you before we got going. So anyone watching this, all 1 million of you, you should go and watch Graham's video from last year. 3 ways, I think it was called like 3 ways to improve the 2020 NBA All-Star game in Chicago. And I liked your ideas. Let me look at my notes real quick. So I'll ask you right off the start. Should Taco Fall be in the NBA All-Star game? Because you made a good point, and you just brought it up again. It's about the fans, right? This isn't for the players. They don't even want to do it this year, but the fans still watch it. This game brings in $50 million of revenue, which is why they're having it. So should we let players in just because the fans want them? Like Taco Fall? You had a point about them being in certain games. So why don't you expand on how they could make the All-Star game a little better, Graham?
Yeah, we'll do it. Okay, so that makes it hard, like Alex Caruso or something like that. So they're obviously not the same tier player, so they're not really, I would say, all-star caliber players. So I don't think players, if you're not playing at that level of other players, I don't think you should be an all-star. Put them in something else. Make another game. I don't know what it would be. Obviously, the all-star game last year was really good, but if people want to see someone like a Taco Fall or Alex Caruso, put them in there somehow. I don't know how, an event of some kind, but it would be, I don't know, just do something with them. All-Star weekend.
Just have like a fans all-star game, or even throw them in the celebrity game. I'd love to see Taco Fall going up against Kevin Hart. Some sick alley-oops from those two.
Right. They have the retired players playing in the celebrity all-star game. So why not put a couple end of the bench fan favorites in there? I think that'd work. Taco Fall is eligible for the rookie sophomore game this year, by the way, because he has played. He had not played a minute of basketball before the All-Star game last year, but he has this year, so he's eligible.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of playing time with him. He's all right. I'd like to see him in the skills challenge. I like your idea too. Going off that point, it's for the fans. I'm going to give you guys my last 2 on the East. These are the debatable ones that we could probably get into a little bit more before we go on to the West. So my last 2, I have Trae Young. I think I switched these around a little bit, but I have Trae Young and Ben Simmons. I think the one I want to focus on, though, is Trae Young, because I put him in there. He's at 26-9-4. He's on a bad team. The Hawks are slumping a little bit lately, but they're still in the play-in tournament spot. But it's going to be in Atlanta. Might as well give the fans who are watching the game a little bit to cheer for. Zach LaVine didn't make it last year, I believe, even though it was in Chicago, and that was a little bit of a surprise to me, and I hope he makes it this year, but he's also a borderline player. But I have Ben Simmons because I think the 76ers are going to be, they're number 1 in the East right now, and I think they should have 2 players if the Nets are going to get 3. You could debate Tobias Harris. He was another borderline pick. I don't know. You guys have either of those 2 guys in on your ballot selection?
So
who do you have?
I have Zach LaVine. I don't know if it can get kind of weird with those last couple of votes. I think he should be in the game. I don't know if he will. And I think there's a solid case for Trae Young and Ben Simmons. But I have Julius Randle. So,
all right.
Yeah. He's 22-11 and 6th, the Knicks are currently in a playoff spot. So if you want to put that into consideration, I think he's having a pretty good season. He kind of dropped off a little bit recently, but I have Zach LaVine and Julius Randle, my last two.
And I think Julius Randle's a good pick and an example of a team that's outperforming. We talked about Bam and their team's underperforming. No one thought the Knicks were going to have a near 500 record at this part of the year. And Julius Randle's a big part of that. I think that's a very reasonable pick, especially for these last two picks. I did have Trae Young as one of my last picks. I just think, kind of like with LaVine, I think at this point, 26-9, like it's hard to say no to that efficiency. But then my last pick, probably the most underrated player in the NBA, I think, Chris Middleton. He is shooting 51, 45, and 90 right now. He was literally 2 shot attempts away from 40, 50, 90 last year. And his numbers, his scoring and rebound are at the same, and his assists are actually better than last year. He's turning the ball over less. Giannis isn't playing as good as he did last year, but Chris Middleton's definitely stepped up so far. And I think that he's an under the radar player that I think definitely deserves to be an all-star comparatively to some of these guys that are on bad teams. The same argument with Ben Simmons. I agree. I think that teams need to get recognition for being good.
Yeah, I think the narrative in the East this year is going to be how many snubs are going to be in the All-Star game. We were all pretty similar, other than maybe our last spot. Maybe we differed a little bit on 2 spots, but a couple names we didn't even mention that are also All-Star worthy. I think you guys would agree. Gordon Hayward, I really tried to figure a way to get him in there. Couldn't do it. Malcolm Brogdon, you can't have 2 Pacers, and Sabonis is a better one.
Yeah.
I got Jeremy Grant, 7-19. Sorry, he doesn't stand a chance with the Pistons there. He's not Bradley Beal. Colin Sexton, you could put him in there. Vucevic. So many borderline players in the last 2 spots. But it sounds like we're in agreement for the most part. We went with the scores that the fans wanted to see.
Yeah, agreed. I actually had exactly those group of people as the people that are just off the cut. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Why don't we take it over to the West? We'll let Graham kick it off again. We covered our starters already, so we're jumping into our 5 reserves.
Yeah. So I guess 2 guards. I have Luka Doncic and Donovan Mitchell. And then 3 forwards, I have Paul George, Anthony Davis, and Rudy Gobert. As my 5, yeah.
I had the exact same 5, actually.
I did as well, yeah. And I think that Paul George, he missed a few games, but I think he's an arguable starter. I think his number, he's close to that 40, 50, 90. I think he's actually over it right now. I think that 5 is pretty set. The West has got a solid top 10.
It will be interesting when they draft. I believe they're still drafting this year, and LeBron and KD are the vote getters. So, I mean, these lineups we're seeing are really cool, but it probably won't be what it is. And we haven't seen a draft with KD, and I think KD will actually be a better GM than what we, especially Giannis last year.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. I can't believe that game was even competitive as it was. But I will be interested to see who KD takes with some of these top picks, whether it's all his Nets buddies or if he goes and steals AD from him in the West, or maybe snipes Steph, reunites with him. But I'm glad we all agree on the same 10. I haven't seen Mitchell love from every podcast I've been listening to.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, just the debate with how well teams are playing and compared he's putting up 24 a game still, and the team is playing really well. So I think it's kind of a no doubter.
I agree. I'm surprised so many people aren't giving him love. A lot of people think Mike Conley is undercutting him a little bit, but I don't think he is. So good point. I'm glad we're all on the same page there.
Yeah. I think this is the part where it could get a little dicey as far as these next two spots. I think it's less, more questionable, less for sure on these last two picks comparative to the East.
I have eight players that could be up for consideration in these last two spots. Maybe 9.
Okay. Who do you got? You start.
Okay. So my first one, both of these are just very debatable, and you guys could probably convince me. So I'm open for arguments. But I have Chris Paul, and I have DeRozan. I left Booker out. I left Fox out. I left Zion. It would be awesome to see. But yeah, I went Chris Paul. It was a tough one, and DeRozan. Who do you have, Coulter?
Those were all on my list as well. I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Kind of a skeptical pick. I haven't heard his name much on all-star lists, but his numbers are up in almost every category. Their team is right around 500. They're, striking distance of a playoff spot right now. I think their team's outperforming again, similar to Julius Randle. And his stats, compete with Donovan Mitchell's and a couple other of those all-stars we talked about. So I think he could be in the consideration. And then that last pick was tough. Zion's numbers are okay, but his defense is atrocious. I cannot watch him play defense. Thank God he has Steven Adams sometimes because he gets burned a lot. Devin Booker's another one too that I think his numbers comparatively are more efficient, but his stats are down. I had De'Aaron Fox. I think he was my last pick just because another person that is, putting the team on his back right now, and his stats are way up in a lot of categories. He really took a big jump so far this season. So I'd probably put SGA and De'Aaron Fox for my two picks. Graham, what you got?
So I have De'Aaron Fox and Devin Booker.
Yeah.
I know the Suns are doing well. Like Brandon Ingram too. I think he's putting very similar to what he was doing last year, and he was an all-star last year. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely an argument there, I think, for Brandon Ingram. But I guess with the two, Ingram and Williamson, being pretty comparable, I think Ingram's probably the better player right now.
Yeah,
in New Orleans. But yeah.
I like the Devin Booker pick. I really went back and forth on it. I almost just put Chris Paul and Booker in there. I don't know though. Booker's numbers are down across the board. I think the last stat that really did it for me, Booker's averaging 4 assists, and I think he's averaging like 4 turnovers. So it's like a 1-to-1 ratio, which is awful. And since Chris Paul has joined the team, he's just been leading them in assists, second in points. He has the best PER on the team. He's not the big name player, so I kind of flipped my thinking when I did the East and the West. I went with the big time players in the East, and then I went with the efficient players with DeRozan and Chris Paul in the West. So I feel like I'm being a little contradictory here. Coulter, you don't have either of them. Why don't you split the vote between Chris Paul and D Book? It sounds like you were going to go D Book, but
I'm going to take Devin Booker. His stats, there's one thing that his stats don't show, and it's because I watch a lot of Suns basketball, is they pass the ball so much that he'll get a hockey assist on so many plays because he passes it to one guy who gets it to the open shot, and he creates that movement. and you don't see that in the stat book, but his efficiency is actually much better when he's on the floor and than when Chris Paul's on the floor. Their second unit is outscoring their starters efficiency wise per 100 possessions, and a lot of that has to do with Devin Booker. So I would hands down give it over Chris Paul. Chris Paul may have more, average more assists, but Devin Booker's playmaking it may not have a stat line, but it's better than when Chris Paul is in that, at least with like the second unit when they're both not on the floor.
It's a good stat, and I like to hear about the hockey assists, but we can also say the same thing about Chris Paul when Devin Booker is off the court.
Devin Booker is better. Their team is better when Devin Booker alone is on the court than when Chris Paul alone is on the court.
Okay. All right.
Per 100 possessions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The team's better.
Like by a lot. Like it's like 17 points per 100 possessions more.
Are you comparing that to when they're both on the court, or when it's just
no, when it's just Chris Paul on the court running the offense versus just 17. Devin Booker? Yeah.
I'm gonna flip that one. You convinced me, Coulter. Don't say I don't have an open mind. All right. I'm going Booker. And I'm gonna stay with DeRozan. Let me give DeRozan a little bit of love before I pass it over to Graham, so he can explain why I'm wrong about D Fox, since you guys both have him. DeRozan, he's on a winning team, 22.7 something PER. No one else on the Spurs even has close to those numbers. I picked him over Booker for a similar reason to why I picked Chris Paul initially. 27-5, and he only has 2 assists per game. So I just think efficiency matters to me a lot this season for a tiebreaker. But give me some De'Aaron Fox stats. Maybe you can convince me. Maybe I'll make 2 switches. You're up, Graham. Let's hear it. You got the journalism background. I bet you can swing.
I wouldn't say about much of a background, but I mean, he is up in pretty much every major category. Points being the main one at 23. If you're sitting at looking at some other players, Devin Booker, I believe, is right around 24 a game.
24 and a half, yeah.
And then I know Donovan, again, his team's playing really well, but he's sitting right at 24. So that makes it kind of weird to be like, okay, we're going to give you these stats. But there's also the factor of, what else they're doing. And I don't know. I just think De'Aaron Fox has had a really good season so far. And then I think you have to just put that in consideration. Compared to the other players, I don't know. Because, again, I had like Brandon Ingram, which is kind of on the fence pick. I don't know. I just think he's been playing really well. He's deserving, even though he didn't want to play in the game. Even though he didn't want to have the game.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to move him up a little bit, but I'm going to stay with DeRozan. I don't know why. No one wants to see any Spurs players in there. The big time player is Fox, so if he gets in, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, a lot of Fox stats I think are to he tries so hard to be a true point guard early in games, and then their team gets behind and he just is like has to take it on. A lot of what Bradley Beal has to do, where he scores, half his points in the fourth quarter or whatever. So I honestly think if De'Aaron Fox came out with the scoring mentality or something, his stats probably would be even better. But you could make the same argument of Brandon Ingram's stats last year, the stat jump he had. I think that's why I gave the nod to De'Aaron Fox's. There's always that one person that in every stat line they improved quite a bit and really became like an elite, top level player.
Yeah, there was kind of the debate. Oh, sorry. Yeah, last year with De'Aaron Fox, even being an all-star last year.
Yeah.
And he's just improved more this year too. So just with that factor as well, I don't know. It's always a weird debate, those last couple of picks.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to having all of them, and I think regardless who makes it in, we're gonna be fine with it.
I'm sad to see Zion not make it. If the Pelicans would have gotten off to a little bit better of a start, I think the fans would have voted him in. Couple people, just shout outs before we move on. We didn't hit. You guys can chime in too. Christian Wood was so close for me. I really wanted to put him in, but the Rockets were too bad. And you guys have swayed me. He should be probably more down, if anything. John Morant, the fans are voting him in highly. I know the coaches like Mike Conley because he's been snubbed for so many years, but I'm not much for makeup picks or anything like that. And then we mentioned Ingram too. I didn't have SGA on my list, honestly, but I'm glad you brought him up, Coulter. Anybody else I'm missing?
You know, John Moran, you could argue the same thing with CJ McCollum. They just didn't have enough games because of injuries, and I think that kind of nixes them from the argument.
Yeah, I think CJ was a lock until he got hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he could have been a starter probably if he would have kept it up and been healthy.
I want to ask Graham before we move on, since there's so much debate on if the All-Star game should happen or what they could do about it. Graham, do you have any final thoughts on if the All-Star game is going to happen, or do you think it should happen? I did mention there's $50 million on the line, so the NBA would have to pay Turner back if they didn't have it. And it's I didn't know this before I looked it up. It's the highest rated viewed game during the regular season. It even beats the Christmas games. I couldn't believe that. There were 7.3 million viewers last year. So that sounds like I'm teeing it up for you to say they should have a game, but me and Coulter were on record. We weren't so sure last week. So Graham, give us your honest opinion here. I can take it.
I don't know. My prediction past is that I thought March Madness was still going to happen based on mine last year, and I was obviously wrong on that. So I think it's going to happen, barring any catastrophe with COVID, probably. But the season's been going well, and I think it'll happen, just for the sake of entertainment. I know there was the weird discussion of having like the dunk contest at halftime, which would not be cool. That'd be weird. But I think it'll happen. It'll be, I don't know, viewership. Another thing I've always been kind of watching is it's been down. And like the NBA All-Star game last year was a massive success. So I think just having all those stars on the court at one time, if it's, reasonable, I think it'll happen.
Yeah, I think that it's too big of a money grab for them not to do it. Like you said, 7.3 million most watched last year. The ratings that the Super Bowl had this year like blew everything out of the water. So I think it's a no-brainer because money's always the end of everything. So I think they're going to do it. I think players may check out and stuff like that. We may have like a completely different roster from what we talked about. But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope, I guess I do hope they have it, but if the players aren't going to really if they're going to get less effort than they already do, yeah, I might tune out after the second quarter. But why don't we get to my personal favorite part of the show when we have our all-star guests on? No pun intended. I like to interview our guests, Coulter. I'm sure you do too, and find out what drives them. We've had so many great guests, and I mean, before you listen to this part of the interview, go and check out some of Graham's videos on Beyond the Arc. They're incredible. So I'm going to tee you up for Beyond the Arc before we get going here, Graham. I've been going through some of his videos. It looks, correct me if I'm wrong as I go through this, but it looks like you started about a year and a half ago, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. It looks like your best performing video was from 2020 of November. It was the DK Metcalf diet video. Absolutely blew up. I found it super interesting.
Oh, nice.
715,000, over 715,000 views. Looks like you do about a video a week. You release on Mondays at 5 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, just incredible views, very unique. I love this comparison between Lonzo Ball and LaMelo Ball, how the analysts said the exact same thing, showing they're lazy, honestly, for the most part. You got the James Harden diet up now. I need to watch that one still. So, yeah, Beyond the Arc, absolutely incredible. Let me ask you this first. What's your background, and how did you get into Beyond the Arc?
So I've been all over the place, man. I've went to film school with Coulter. That's how I met him. And then I've always had a sports background. I worked in athletics when I was a student at Montana State. And then, I don't know, I've jumped around. I did a film company with our buddy Duncan Williamson. Did that for a little bit. It's called Coffee Boys. Then I had a minor hiatus in Los Angeles, and I was doing some stand-up comedy. Then I came back, and now I'm doing calling games and doing some other stuff on the side of the YouTube stuff. So I've been all over the place, but for Beyond the Arc, I kind of just wanted to do more stuff as far as journalism and sports, and that seemed like the best way to do it. And then I also worked on it with my buddy Duncan, so we'd do it every week. We had a set, and then I'd write it, we do it, get it done. And it really, the main thing was just practice. I just wanted to do it more, so I got better at it. And then, I changed a few things up. Some videos hit, some didn't, and it's kind of where it is at right now. Kind of medium small, I guess.
Coulter, I got a question, Coulter. Do you want to take one first, though?
I was just gonna say, what part of the journalistic aspects are you driven to the most? I know you have like you want to continue commentating and stuff like that. So is that why you wanted to practice, or was it like the writing aspect of it, the journalism aspect?
I think the writing for sure, because the first couple of videos and just my presence on camera, that's kind of changed now. But you have to be a little louder and expressive, and use your hands and do stuff that because if you don't do that, people get bored, then they don't want to watch. So it was that and writing, just making sure everything was topical each week. And then it's for the views, like what are people searching for? And then finding what people want to watch, writing about it, making it engaging. So I'd say, yeah, the writing and just presence on camera, and I guess voice too. So yeah, it's definitely improved. I think just watching the first video to now, but obviously a ton of improvement I still need to work on. And I don't have a journalism degree or anything, so it's just good practice to do writing.
Yeah, I actually went and watched your first video and your last video before we got going, and I can tell you for sure you've gotten a lot better. You weren't that bad at the start, but you definitely have gotten a lot better. But you do bring up a good point. For people who haven't seen the videos yet, even though I told you to go and do it. So Gramme's videos, he usually covers a hot topic. It seems like a hot topic that's going on, some buzzword that's been going on in the media. But what I think is really interesting, you kind of do it kind of like the first take style, where you have video clips playing on the screen while you're commentating over it. It kind of reminds me of Last Week Tonight too, where you're just covering a lot of topics, or one topic, but covering it from a lot of different angles at once. So what do you know what the rules are with how you always use professional clips? What are the rules with using those professional clips? Is there a certain amount of time you can use it for? Where are you getting all this? You do it once a week, but I imagine finding all these clips and cutting them together takes forever. What's your process behind that?
Yeah, usually because I found some other channels and did a little research, because one person on YouTube reached out to me who was doing a very similar thing. And so that's when I tweak things, and you can see it on the channel. Like I go from not having my face to having a thumbnail of, I don't know, it was the Heat video with Giannis on the thumbnail. Like I literally change it, and then you can see the views go up significantly. So I think just doing that and kind of just learning all of it. I don't know. Can you roll back on the question? I just started talking.
Yeah, no, you covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
So you find your clips from other
Oh, yeah.
similar YouTube channels, or I don't know. A lot of it seems like it's from the professional networks, like just ESPN, Fox, any NBA clips.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird line with copyright rules. And I think for the sake of journalism, that's why it's allowed. That's why I can put ads and stuff like that on here. Because there are plenty of other people that do the exact same thing, and that's their job. They make YouTube videos, sports YouTube videos every week. So did a little research there, talked to some people. I might run into problems down the road, but at this point I haven't. So yeah, I just get clips from wherever I can find them on the internet, and then just use them and use my voice behind it. Yeah.
So Graham, in particular, your DK Metcalf video is blown up, obviously. Were you surprised when it happened? Did it happen immediately? I mean, you were talking about how many negative comments, but I mean, you have all these views. So, I mean, it led to something good.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I decided to, I think that was my first football video that I made, football related, I guess, because of an NFL athlete. But yeah, I decided to try something. It's definitely not my favorite video, just because it's not something I talk about all the time. But it started slow. It got a lot more views right off the bat. I think this was the week after he had that chase down on Buda Baker. So that obviously blew up the internet. So that helped. And yeah, no, it's slow. It was gradual. I think I'll double check. I think the first week it was 100,000, which was absurd. And then it kind of it went in waves, but it definitely it peaked. And then yeah, no, it was definitely a major surprise. But if people are watching it, then if I don't know, it's a more people like it than people that don't like it, and people are watching. So it is what it is.
So last question from me, Graham. Where do you think Beyond the Arc is growing? Do you have any future goals you want to hit?
I'm kind of just working on it. I don't have any massive goals right now because I'm looking at multiple avenues as far as what I want to do myself. So I'm not really sure. I'm definitely going to keep making videos and trying to, really it started as I want to practice and get better at this. And it kind of evolved to honestly what's going to get views, which isn't the most fulfilling thing in the world. So I'm definitely going to keep doing it. I'm not really sure where it's headed at this point, just because I have so many other different things going on right now. So not the most definitive answer for you.
That was good. I like it.
Cool. Yeah, I think that, there's the thing about sports is like people are always going to disagree and there's going to be drama. And if there's anything we learned in film school, people like drama. So, yeah, I've enjoyed watching your videos so far, and I'm excited to see where you keep heading.
Yeah, it's always fun to kind of just start a conversation, and again the comments, and you hear, like, sometimes I read the comments, I'm like, oh, that's actually a good point, didn't think about that. So people are always going to be talking about sports, so there's always stuff to talk about. Even when there were no sports going on, when everything shut down, you can always find stuff to talk about. So that was also a pretty cool learning experience, just to go through that and deal with all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a little bit more debate now with our next draft. So we do an old man in the three style. We're going to be drafting who we think is going to win MVP. Our guests will always get first pick. I don't know if that helps them or not. Colt, I feel like I've been taking the third pick a lot lately. So
yeah, you can go number 2.
Okay, so we're gonna draft who we think is gonna win MVP, not just where they are for the season. So you get 3 picks total. and we're going to do a snake draft if that affects your strategy. So, Graham, why don't you lead us off here?
All right. I got to go with LeBron, number one. Yeah.
Any reason why? You can make your case for him.
I mean, they say he's slowing down and he doesn't play as many minutes. He's actually playing a lot of minutes this year. And maybe this is not, he's putting up good numbers this year, but I mean, you put him on any team, they're going to make the playoffs and do something. You could have an argument LeBron could be an MVP almost every year. So I don't know. I think he's a gimme for me.
Yeah, I mean, what's it, 25, 8, and 8 right now, and I think it's the same argument every year. Is like LeBron should and could win it every year, and he always gets left off the list at the end of the year, and it's crazy that he's 36 years old and putting those numbers up.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick, and I think the Lakers will probably end with the best record, and that could be a big factor in the decision overall. But since you took LeBron, I think there's two clear frontrunners, so I'm going to take the other one in Joel Embiid. His numbers are absolutely insane. He would have probably been one of my last picks at the start of the season, just because I didn't think he could play a full season and be in there consistently enough. But he's been doing it so far. I hope he keeps doing it. And I also left a guy I know Coulter wants for him too, even though I was partial to him.
Yeah, Joel Embiid's number one in PER. He's the most efficient player in the NBA right now, according to stats. And I said it back in our bubble episode, our very first episode, that if Joel Embiid ever decides to play basketball 100%, he'll be in the MVP conversation. And Tyler thought I was crazy. And so now that he's number two, I'm going to just pull that up, that quick comment before I make my third pick. And I got a jersey here, and I'll just leave it at that. Just kidding. For the people that aren't watching this and listen to it on Spotify. Number three, I'm going to go Nikola Jokic. He's just tearing it up this year. Their team is starting to pick it up. I think they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. He's averaging 27, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists for a center. That's crazy. And it's also cool to think that, a couple years ago, people said the center is dying, and look at us now talking about how the top two of the top three people are centers right now in the MVP conversation. So,
Good pick.
Am I I have number 4 then.
Make it.
A guy that's probably surprised people a little bit, but he hasn't missed a step coming back for not playing 18 months. Kevin Durant. He's second in the NBA in scoring right now. He's averaging 29.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's the only player now that plays defense on the net since they got rid of Jared Allen. And I think he's a big reason why they're scoring so many points, and a big reason why they're only losing half the games that they've played so far, because they cannot stop anyone on defense, and he's the only one that can.
Yeah, the Nets games are kind of painful to watch. They're so much fun because they can just blow up on anybody. I think they had 110 points, something like that, in the Saturday game versus Golden State, with KD coming back, and he was a little bit rusty too. But I think that's a great pick. We'll see if their defense can be anything, but I like the pick a lot. So with my next pick, I'm going to go with Giannis. We're mentioning all of these great players, but Giannis is doing the exact same thing he did last year. The Bucks are a little bit down, and just from watching the games, the Bucks impressed me a little bit more than the 76ers. I think the 76ers are closing games better than the Bucks. One reason they have a little bit better of a record, and Joel Embiid is a better case other than his PR being so high. But we'll see that battle play out. I don't think the media will like the narrative of Giannis down the stretch, but if his stats are there and they can get to first in the East, it's going to be hard to. It'll be kind of hard to vote against him. They'll just use he already won 2, which is what they did. They pigeonhole LeBron anyway, so probably do the same thing to Giannis. But he's one of the top 5 players, so I'll take Giannis there.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess you could go with a few different guys here. I think you get lots of usage, but I'm gonna go with Steph Curry. He's just so fun to watch, and right now the Warriors are in a playoff spot right now, which is a lot better than they were last year. So, I mean, the Warriors are putting a lot of weight on his shoulders, which probably isn't good. But he is averaging like 30 a game. That's second in the league. So, yeah, I'm going with Steph on this one.
It's a good pick. I like Steph a lot. I mean, he's just carrying that team into the playoffs, and he's at about 30 points per game, and he's creating all the offense for him.
Yeah.
I think he's shooting 43.5% from the 3-point line. So very efficient. Great pick there.
10 threes the other night or whatever. Yeah, his back's going to be sore at the end of the year, I think, the way he's carrying that team right now. They're looking better, though, and Tyler and I talked about it earlier. I think Steve Kerr made a couple changes and actually showed that Steve Kerr can coach. Because, yeah, they looked abysmal a couple weeks, like even start of January. So
Draymond Green coming back helped too, but yeah. They've adjusted those lineups. They're really running. Good pick.
All right, you're up again, Graham.
I'm up again.
Yes.
All right. Well,
last pick. Last pick. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with Damian Lillard on this one. So he's at 29 a game, just over 7 assists. So I think something to factor there is when CJ McCollum went out, he's been lighting it up, playing as usual, really, for Portland. So just seems like every year everyone gets hurt on Portland. So, and he has to carry them. So, and every year they're probably going to make the playoffs. They might be at the bottom, but every year they make the playoffs somehow. They made it to the bubble last year, and I don't think anything will be different here with the Blazers. So Damian Lillard with that one.
Yeah, they're in the 5th spot right now. Like they're sitting pretty, even with those injuries. So yeah, very good pick.
If they could just stay healthy and get in the top 3 spots, that's going to be a legit pick and have a legit MVP run, especially with how he closes games. But I'm going with who I picked at the start of the season. Coulter gave me a hard time about Embiid. Embiid's playing great, but he's still not one of the top 5 players in the league, if you ask me. I just don't trust him. He'll have to prove it to me first. But a guy who has proved it to me is who I'm wearing right now, Anthony Davis. LeBron is cutting into his chances, and AD is also cutting into his own chances because he's gotten off to a slow start, and he's given up a lot of his normal usage rate to Marc Gasol because, AD is a great passer, but Gasol is actually better. So his stats are down a little bit. His defense is still there. If he could stay healthy and somehow have a monster second half of the season, I think LeBron could take off a couple more games toward the end because like Graham said, he's been playing way more minutes than he's accustomed to because Lakers just take the game off until the 4th quarter. So I don't think this is going to happen if I could hedge my bet a little bit. But the Lakers will be one of the best teams in the league, and AD will be a factor. And he'll probably get Defensive Player of the Year before he get MVP. But that's my pick. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm making the pick.
Nice. That was out of left field a little bit. I didn't have him on my list. I don't know. There's a couple guys. I guess is this the last pick technically?
Last pick, yeah.
Like you could argue Luka because he's doing the same thing Steph's doing, except for they're just not winning games. He's at 28, 9-9 right now. I'm gonna say Kawhi Leonard. His stats are like 26, 6, 5 and 2 steals. And he's been healthy. He's been good. You could argue Paul George too. The efficiency Paul George is having this year. But I'll stick with Kawhi. I think he's playing good on both ends of the floor. They're, I think, third in the West right now. Solid record. So for the 9th best player in the MVP ratings, I'd say Kawhi's probably a pretty good person to pick. But,
Yeah, I agree 100%. Those three right there. I was looking at Steph, Dame, and Kawhi. So I think the Clippers have very quietly done very well this year after kind of falling apart in the bubbles. Everyone kind of signed them off this year, but they're playing really well.
Yeah, them and the Sixers are both, top 3 in their conferences, and no one's really talking about them much. So yeah, I think they're going to be more of a threat this year than they were last year. They definitely have better chemistry, I think, overall.
Absolutely. That'll be a threat in the playoffs. We didn't mention any Jazz players. I think that's the one thing I'd like to point out, because they don't have the stats, but if they keep going on the track they're going, the media might get into and give Donovan Mitchell a little bit of love. Or Gobert's been absolutely insane with his numbers.
Yeah. I think he's a definite front runner for defensive player of the year this year again. But he's been studly on that side of it. Another person, he was out a little bit with COVID, but Jason Tatum's numbers are super solid also, and he's been closing games really good. 27. Yeah, he played bad today, but he still cut. I think he came back for COVID. I mean, he's only been back for a week. So I think it'll be interesting to see as these players come back with COVID. You saw it with Westbrook in the bubble last year. Like, he didn't look like himself. So I definitely think there's a curve to getting back into it, and performance is gonna take a hit.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great episode, fellas. We covered a lot. We covered all our all-star selections. You guys swayed me on a couple. We worked through the audio technicalities a little bit. I already learned. I got to use my hands some more in the pod, so I learned something from Graham there. Graham, where can we find all of your great content?
So on YouTube, I have an Instagram page, but it's all on YouTube pretty much. So it's Beyond the Arc. You can just search my name, Gramme Sowell, on YouTube. It'll pop up. So yeah, Beyond the Arc, Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome, Graham. It was great having you, and we'll make sure maybe after the All-Star game or something like that later in the season, we'll have to get you on again and maybe get some playoff picks or something from you.
For sure. I'd love to do this again. This is great.
Awesome. Well, until next time, everyone, we'll keep the slices coming.